genre.
In the world of Hollywood, movies get greenlit and redlit. They get remade and rebooted. But we are the ideal. I'm Sam Gasch, and you are listening to Ideal Remake. Thank you for listening to Ideal Remake. We take movies that either have been, will be, or should be remade and talk about what the ideal version of that remake would be. We are talking about the grand adventure of perhaps the most literal of all time, cowboys. And Bart Gold is going to let us know if Beastmaster is a movie that has been, will be, or should be remade. Bart, what you think?
I think that there's definitely room to improve on it, so yeah, why not let's remake Beastmaster.
Perfect. Great. Bart, welcome to Ideal Remake. For those listening and who are not necessarily recognizing you based on your voice, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, one of these people. I've been a screenwriter. A lot of what you write doesn't end up getting made, but I did get some cartoons made at DreamWorks TV. I've written for Universal, for DreamWorks, got a bite of a Quibi project before that went away. During the pandemic, I picked up crossword writing as a hobby, and like graphic design has now and again, it's one of these side hustles that has taken over my life. And I now have a daily 10x10 Midi Crossword on the LA Times website. Which
Bart has designed a lot of really cool and interesting word games. Like, we met through the WJ board game group, and you brought in one time like a box full of puzzles for us to solve, and just like, hey, here's a 3x3 block with a couple of letters on it, fill it in with words that work in all directions. And you're very, very good at coming up with puzzles and planning things out, and it's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, those are fun. You know, everybody wants to create the next Wordle. So now that I'm into this space, it's always fun to try new things and see if I can come up with that most basic molecule of fun that like everybody wants to.
Do you remember the first time you started doing crosswords? Which has nothing to do with our podcast. I'm just curious.
Solving? Or
yeah.
You know, I feel like that's one of those things that I would poke at on the back of a cereal box. I didn't do full-size newspaper crosswords for a long time, so I don't really have a specific memory of doing it. But I'm one of these people that when I see art that tickles me, like I want to try and make my own version and see if it's possible.
That's great. Which then, of course, if we're going to transition back, do you remember the first time you saw Beastmaster?
Beastmaster is, okay, let's transport ourselves back to another era. It's the mid-'80s. Children who might be lucky might have HBO in their home for the first time. And back then, the way that it would work is it was not recorded or, DVRable. It was just on all day, every day.
Right.
And so during a given month, they might run a movie, 50 times, and it would just be one of the things that was on TV when you turned on the TV.
Yeah.
And so people were prone to watch that same movie over and over again, especially if they were like a kid like me and they just decided to dump out their Legos in front of the TV and listen while they made stuff. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, I saw Beastmaster over and over again before I had ever gone to film school and developed any sort of critical eye about the media I was watching.
Do you think it holds up to the critical eye that you have developed?
I'm pleased to report no. I watched it again. This probably is the first time, leading up to this is probably the first time I've watched it since the 80s. And it was fascinating to see how much stuff I thought, oh, wow, that's actually not impressive.
Oh, yeah, like the special effects and everything?
Well, just not to jump ahead, but getting into character,
Sure. Yeah.
There was this certain ideal of the rugged and wronged hero back then.
Yeah.
And that might be enough for an 11-year-old.
Yeah.
I have now grown past it.
Yeah, this is a weird combination. Like, if we're doing a this meets that, it's a weird combination of Star Wars meets He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
I wish it was that good.
Sure.
Star Wars has such legendary endurance because it is, in the end, a great story.
Yeah.
Such a great story that frequently screenwriting books might dissect it as an example of a great sequence of payoff,
Absolutely.
Personal payoff, larger societal payoff, believing in yourself, like the steps that all happen in sequence there.
But if you take it on...
I wish Beastmaster was as good as Star Wars.
Yeah, but if you take it on its most granular level, Beastmaster starts with a young man who has a destiny ahead of him, but who basically comes back to his home and his life being wiped away, and that's what sends him on his grand adventure to take down the evil lord of a religious sect.
Right.
That's at the basic most level, that is kind of what it is. And then he makes his adorable little friends along the way. In one case it's robots, in the other case it's animals. That's kind of similar. And then of course you put them in the weird leather Speedos that were very this is fantasy garb of the day.
Right.
I've talked about Zardoz. And just the Sean Connery leather strap, leather Speedo outfit, and you're just okay, sure, fine. I mean, to be fair, that's sci-fi dystopia, but nonetheless.
Right, it's that sword and sandal aesthetic that was probably at its peak then between things like Conan.
Very much so.
Perhaps the Dungeons and Dragons craze as well.
Yeah, when did Conan come out? Conan is the same year. Conan the Barbarian, 1982, Beastmaster, 1982. So they were kind of eating each other's lunch, but I think we know which one stood the test of time potentially. Although I've never seen Conan.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's popular enough that I feel like someone's going to request it for the podcast at some point, so it's one of those movies that are I'll watch it then. And I don't think this movie did well, but I don't know if we can call it a direct flop. Do you know what the budget was for this movie?
I do not.
$8 million. And off an $8 million budget, it made $14 million. Which then makes sense that Go and is playing on HBO constantly, because that's exactly the sort of movie that would do that. And you're I would hazard a guess that this movie made money.
For somebody eventually, sure.
Right. Certainly not for anyone who worked on it. This feels like the sort of movie that they're constantly putting...
It did have the misfortune of getting released after both Jaws and Star Wars.
Yeah.
Which fundamentally transformed the success metric for films.
Yeah, despite the fact that this came out in 1982, it does feel like a 70s movie to an extent. But yeah. What do you think about, what made you pick this movie? Because I think we kind of, came up with it while we were, at the board game group, just, chatting about movies.
Yeah, it was, I'll give credit to our beloved friend John Gutierrez, who suggested it.
I didn't realize it came from him, but because just following the... Yes, you're correct.
We were talking about Krull, which...
Yes, which is also on the list.
Which has some of these same problems, probably. But in the end, I think that he just brought me back to being that 11-year-old kid and watching that flying throwing axe thing get hurled around.
I wanted it to be used more.
Indeed.
There's the moment we have this big final showdown on top of the temple, and it's that guy's over there, and I need to get him. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to use my boomerang knife.
In fact, I will turn my back, and the bad guy will be defeated when he's tackled by a ferret.
Yes. The ferrets in this movie surprised me. Because, we get to a point where... You know what? Let's just do the walkthrough, and we'll get to this.
Sure, yeah.
The movie opens with Max, M-A-A-X, Max, being told a fortune by witches who are basically just hot women in weird, creepy masks that make them look decrepit, and he's being told that he is going to be killed by the son of Tal, and that's just the future. There's nothing he can do about it. And he's I'll show you nothing I can do about it. I order my incredibly devoted cult to find this child and kill him and sacrifice them in the name of the god that we claim to worship. So the king of that kingdom is so I've been hearing some crazy shit from you guys. We're gonna kick you out. And he's we'll see about that. Kicks the dude out, but then a witch sneaks in to just their... Where is this king and queen sleeping? Just in a tent in the middle of town?
I feel like we didn't get a great look at that original town.
Yeah.
It definitely was not a particularly nice castle from what we did see.
One of the witches gets a cow, walks in to their bedroom where the king and queen are sleeping, does a spell where she immobilizes the both of them and then takes the baby from the pregnant wife and puts it into the cow. Which, thus my intro about him being the most literal of all cowboys.
Yeah. Gotcha. I'm caught up now. It's and that even just like watching that as an adult now, I'm like, wait a minute. So they're immobilized, but for some reason, instead of just stabbing this baby where it's sitting and getting the mission done, I know what would be clever. I'm going to teleport this baby to a cow.
So that I can sneak the cow out of the town and then cut the baby out of the town and then brand its hand with the mark of R and then sacrifice it in the name of R. So many different levels. However, I would like to add one more. When we do our version, the thing I wanted more than anything else, because basically what happens is the baby goes from the pregnant mom into the cow.
Right.
I wanted it to be a swipsy swapsy. It needs to be a pregnant cow. Mm-hmm. So I wanted the mom to then be pregnant with the calf, and then the cow to be pregnant with the baby, and it swaps. So that way you get to then, 20 years later, have a cow, like a holy cow that was born from the deceased queen, and reunited with the baby that was born from the cow. And it's just a real dumb opportunity for some more crazy campiness, but I think it would be very silly.
Well, that would be especially fun if, because, the baby that gets stolen ends up, presumably, although it's never said explicitly, presumably his ride out of town inside a cow is somehow connected to his ultimately revealed ability to communicate with animals.
Yeah.
Maybe in your flipped version, you could have this kind of minotaur thing that gets born and is like the crummy prince in the town.
Or you can just make it an actual like final boss, like evil thing that is ruling the town with an iron fist because it is the quote unquote child of the king. So you get to have an evil minotaur that the Beastmaster has to take down.
That's true. It could be in cahoots with Max.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, so basically the witch is trying to sacrifice this baby, and this guy Zed stumbles upon a crying baby and a woman who's doing weird magic shit, and then he ends up striking down, defeating the witch, bringing the baby back home to, I don't remember the name of their little town, and raising this child as if it's his own. He trains Dar in the sword, in the weird boomerang knife, and learns that Dar has the ability to speak with animals after Dar senses and communicates with a bear who then kills one of their neighbors. The weight and nature of... Yeah, absolutely. The weight and nature of life in this movie is insane. Especially... And, like... in both the movie and the making of the movie. Because we have this child standing next to a bear. We have the main characters constantly just around a tiger. There's just a dyed black tiger who we're calling a panther that we'll encounter later in the movie that just hangs out with the cast. I don't think I would be comfortable with that.
Yeah, that seems like something that insurance regulations have caught up with since.
Yes. So Dar grows up and he's out tilling the fields with all his buddies when his adopted town gets attacked by the Jun horde, and everyone in town gets wiped out except that Dar, after being knocked out, is dragged away by his dog, who was shot by a crossbow bolt but still managed to drag Dar away before itself dying. So the movie opens with a dead dog. I'm probably not going to be on the movie side.
Well, I think you're failing to take the John Wicks of the world into account for that.
I mean, that's true. This basically is John Wick.
Yeah.
So Dar goes back to town.
But it's double Wick. That's the thing that fascinated me as I rewatched it.
Please.
Because he's got a motive for revenge that he's aware of as a... I mean, I don't know how... I mean, he...
Let's say 20.
Okay. As a young man, he... sees his village get wiped out. But he also doesn't know, apparently, that he has another motive and another guy to get even with.
Right.
We'll get there by the end.
Yeah.
But it's doubling up on motive.
Yeah, and, like, the Jun Horde revenge story very much ends up feeling like an afterthought. It's like, hey, we had this big climactic victory. We won. The day is saved. Oh, right. Other bad guys are coming. And it's very... We'll fix that.
Yeah.
Dar recovers the boomerang and his father's sword, and then he basically strips down to leather Speedo and runs off into nature, swinging the sword around. And I took a screenshot of the TV where it's just he's standing on a cliffside and it just says, Dar bellows. And it's just like, I must avenge my town. And it looks like he's having the time of his life running around and jumping and laughing and swinging a sword, which I'm certain is because Mark Singer was having the time of his life running around and being dehydrated and swinging a sword.
Sidebar. I don't know if you ever saw V, the 80s
No.
undercover alien TV series. V also starred Mark Singer, and he is in much, much better shape than I remembered.
In this movie?
Yeah, both just, well, I mean, it's not a surprise that he was all toned and whatnot, but
Sure.
I thought of him, in kind of normal human proportions, in V, he's, everybody's walking around wearing their 80s shoulder pads or whatnot, and they have to contend with an alien invasion.
Right.
The Mark Singer of that feels like, Mark Ruffalo,
Which is a year
like
later.
a regular guy,
Right.
but seeing it now being older and out of shape, I'm like, wow, this dude is like cut and brawny.
Yes.
And everything you would want out of a barbarian, except for the fact that it feels like he came from like a California beach instead of being raised in a hard Scrabble town on sticks.
Very much so. It is, the weird town. Yes, interesting point. I'm not describing the town very much because that's an interesting detail, but all the houses and things are like built on stilts.
Right.
Which makes it really easy to knock them over and kill everybody inside.
And you're never sure why, because it seems like it's inland. It's certainly on a hill. I don't know if there's supposed to be water danger or if it's just bears. Or
It was the style of the time.
I was wearing an onion on my belt.
That's right. I will say that of everyone in this, we haven't specified, but Maax is played by Rip Torn.
Yes.
Who, as soon as he walked out, I was like, well, that's Rip Torn. That can't be anyone other than Rip Torn. Oh, he opened his mouth and spoke? Well, it's 100% even more Rip Torn now.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I feel like that they cast somebody with gravitas.
Yeah.
But it is funny
it.
because a lot of the rest of the movie feels kind of like, just no-name good-looking people that they found on the side of the freeway in 1981 or whatever.
Yeah, I have a cast list of 6 because I'm not even sure what to do with that. But yeah. Oh, it's not the son of Tal. Tal is the brother. It's the son of some king. We'll get to that. But basically, we get a series of 3 little sequences of Dar befriending and kind of adopting his animal companions. There's an eagle that I think he just becomes friends with. I don't remember how he adopts the eagle.
I think he goes three-eyed raven, kind of. He just all of a sudden realizes, hey, my eagle friend, I can see from his POV.
Yeah, he wargs into the eagle.
Right.
Then 2 ferrets steal his bag and then lead him on a little chase where he ends up in quicksand. Then he convinces the ferrets to help him, which leads to one of the ferrets falling in the quicksand after he's rescued. And then we show footage of the ferret sinking in quicksand, which means that they threw a ferret into quicksand.
Quicksand. I think there's few things that can place a movie so succinctly.
But also, animal cruelty in this movie be damned. Like, my God. But anyway, the 2 ferrets become his friends for some reason. And then he has this weird, stunning realization that a couple of bad guys from the Jun army, I believe, have captured a panther. It's a tiger painted black. I don't know why we couldn't have just had a tiger, but it's a tiger painted black. And he goes and rescues the tiger, and so then he says he has his eyes.
Yeah, I think his sight, his cunning, his his strength.
And his strength, yes. Yeah, and then he's like, great! So the next thing he
does...
This
will totally help me get revenge on those bad guys. Oh, wait. Ladies.
100% is exactly what happens next. Then he stumbles upon 2 basically naked women chilling in a river, swimming around and laughing and being like, haha, we're naked and having a wonderful time. So then he tricks one of them out of the water and then basically shows up behind her and sexually assaults her. He forcibly kisses her. Under false pretenses of saving her from his panther.
Yeah. Not a good look, Dar.
No, it's not. And then he's like, well, I'm pretty great and you are very pretty. You should come with me. And she's like, I mean, I genuinely would love to, but I'm a slave, you see, so I have to go back. And it's like, you didn't seem like a slave when you were laughing and singing in the water. I'm going to trust that you're, in fact, a slave. So she's a slave in a town that is, in fact, ruled by Max and the town of R, and she has to be a slave there or they will kill her family. We never see her family. I mean, we see her, like, cousin and uncle, but we don't see her immediate family.
Right, and I don't think there ever is an immediate family. It just turns out to be all people that are secretly related to the Mark Singer character.
Right. What ends up happening is Dar sneaks into the town, and he watches Max sacrifice a child. We see it happen, a child gets thrown in the pit, that child's dead. And then Max is like, the god's still pretty hungry, could use another kid. And they find another kid in the crowd, gets torn away from Sacco and his wife. They're like begging for their daughter not to be killed. Max is like, I'm gonna do it. Throws the daughter, she's sliding down into the pit. Dar has his eagle go rescue the kid and carry her away. And then he spots that Kiri, the attractive lady, is in fact a slave there. But then he makes his escape, sneaks back into town later, and reunites Sacco with his daughter. Sure. One kid being killed? Fine. Two? That's where I draw the line.
Well, and then we're also fundamentally now wandering into structural problems because he does not know that Max is the origin of his entire sad saga.
Yes. In fact,
the movie hates Max.
Oh, for sure.
But Dar still doesn't know.
No.
And he'll be focused on the evil Jun Horde.
And he doesn't even necessarily care about that because now he's focused on rescuing Kiri. Like, he's there to rescue slave girl Kiri, Star Wars, which, when did Return of the Jedi come out?
83,
I
think.
So we didn't even have slave girl Leia yet.
No.
Oh, well. Beastmaster's ahead of the curve on that one. And so then Dar is in the wilderness and he's like trying to figure out what he's going to do to attack this town, where he runs into Seth and Tal, who are well trained in the staff, and he's like, well, we're all trying to get to this town to go do a thing. And they slowly realize that they're actually after the same thing, where they realize that Dar has this necklace that he stole from Kiri, and they realize that Kiri is Tal's cousin because Tal is the child of the king, and Seth is another warrior guy. I don't know.
Well, but what we do know is that this is a step down for Seth.
Oh, is it?
I think we do know that this is a step down for Seth.
Why?
Because Seth is played by John Amos, who by then was already known as A, the father from Good Times.
Sure.
And B, freaking Kunta Kinte in Roots.
Is he the original Kunta Kinte?
Older Kunta Kinte.
Older Kunta Kinte. Got it. Okay, yeah. Because, like, him and Rip Torn are the two people I recognize.
Right.
And
you would also know him later as Admiral Fitzwallace on The West Wing.
Right. And he's, like, in Die Hard 2. He's in Coming to America. He is the guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great actor, again, with that gravitas.
Yes.
And he's got to run around in a loincloth.
He is also jacked to shit. And in terms of actors also, he only passed away a couple of years ago, and this guy had an incredible career. And he's in this movie to show off that he is, in fact, jacked to shit.
Yeah, but does not get to do a whole ton.
Yeah, he has for show muscles and not necessarily for use muscles. Because, like, even when he's fighting, he's kind of just, like, flexing and moving very stiffly to try to, like, push things away. And basically they're trying to come up with this plan to go rescue the slaves, and they realize the 5 slave girls are going to be sacrificed by a lake. So they somehow acquire a boat, lead up, and steal Kiri away. The other 4 slave girls get left behind. They don't matter. We only need the 1 slave girl. She's the only one we care about. And then the bad guys fire arrows that just hit the helm of this ship and nothing else. And I guess it's the worst sequence in the whole movie. They rescue 1 out of 5 people, call it a victory, and basically there's no resistance to them doing this. It's crazy. But anyway, now the gang's all together.
Right.
Time to attack the city. Or sneak in, rescue the king. And then Seth also has to go rally an army to then attack the city. And all that happens. We sneak into the town, we realize that Max has magic, there's witches, there's all sorts of weird things. They're making weird zombie bruisers. The ferrets have to go steal the key, and then the ferrets are basically have their own little sequence where one of the zombie bruisers is trying to like kill the ferrets while they get the key back. And then Dar and Tal and Kiri are sneaking in to try to rescue the old king, which they do, but he's blind, but they get him away. And then Dar sends them off to go like be rescued, but he's not willing to leave without his ferrets. And then the ferrets come back, and then there's another horde of weird zombie monsters. And then Kiri just shows up. Kiri has this weird, uncanny ability to just be behind Dar. It happens like 4 times. It's never explained. It's just, she has like the weird ability, the weird comedic timing of that character from The Office. And yeah, it's just like this whole big convoluted sequence where they rescue the king. The king's an asshole. Seth gets an army. They rally the army together. They get everything. They decide they're going to go attack the town. They attack the town. Max is like, no, I'm going to get you. And then he stabs the king, kills the king. But in doing so, we reveal that Dar was in fact the king's first son. And Tal's brother, which never gets addressed, or I guess half-brother, because the king's just like, oh, none of this would have been happening if my wife hadn't been killed and my unborn son hadn't been stolen. Oh, woe is me, why am I revealing this fact now? Anyway, hi, Dar.
Wait a minute, I was a stolen son, hey.
We don't know
actually,
that, though.
Actually, I guess you're right, we don't know if he knows.
Like, all we know is that he referred to Zed as his father.
There certainly was a lot more of a meal to be made out of that reunion. If only somebody kind of knew every piece of the puzzle.
Right. And so we have this big climactic fight where Max is stabbed and he falls, and we think we win, but then he pulls the knife out, brings a sword, and is about to kill Dar, but then one of the ferrets leaps on his neck, and together he and the ferret tumble into the sacrifice pyre.
Right.
So truly the character arc and the biggest hero in this movie is that ferret. I will be taking no arguments on the subject.
You won't get any. I mean, he's the MVP. And it's sad when your villain is reduced to the level where all that needed to happen to take the villain out was to get tackled by a 8-pound animal.
Barely. I would say 2, maybe 3. And like the ferret leaps on his neck and starts like biting his neck. And it's like this whole thing, and then like that's how the two of them tumble into the fire.
Yeah, and also all because the hero is, not paying attention.
Right. Well, he thinks he's won. I think he's standing there holding Kiri, or he's standing there holding Tal. I don't remember. I think it's Kiri. And
there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of, henchmen running around that ziggurat.
Yeah, good word.
Thank you. And what's so funny about it is that it may look good in theory, but it turns out to be a lousy way to... I mean, it's a good way to be on stage in front of the whole city, I guess. But then, like, when your guards are running down trying to get rid of attackers, it turns out to be very easy to flip those guards over onto their heads and send them tumbling down the stone. Not
to steal even more from future Star Wars, but it's almost like simply having the high ground isn't the end-all, be-all.
It's over. I have the low ground.
Honestly, that kind of... Like, you're basically cornered on a hill.
Well, it is a very, very steep incline that those guards are running down, and I don't think they thought it through.
I would compliment the set of this building, except that, when we actually cut away and view the town, it's clearly a miniature that is very obviously placed closer to camera, and then the characters are behind, looking off into the middle distance at where the distant city would be if it wasn't, 2 feet in diameter sitting right next to the camera.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, clearly they had to build at least some of a pyramid.
Yeah, some of it. When they actually get to the set, yes, but looking out over the city as a whole, the little kingdom is less impressive. But basically, after they win, they realize, oh no, the Jun Horde is gonna know that we took out this town, and now all of a sudden we're vulnerable, and they're going to attack. We have to figure out a way for us to attack. Are we gonna flee? or defend the city, and they vow to defend the city, and then they have this whole big thing where they fill the moat with oil or tar. They fill it with tar. And then it's a big sequence where they make sure like different people are dying and running and trying to get flames into the tar moat so they can ignite the Jun Horde and take out most of them. And then it's a big climactic battle against Dar and the leader of the Jun Horde, who we know nothing about. And it's this big climactic battle, and Dar wins, but then the rest of the Jun Horde's still attacking, and so that's when he uses the amulet that we haven't brought up until exactly this moment. Between Dar getting his animal friends and going on his adventure, and I think before or after he meets Kiri, he stumbles in... No, it must be after. He stumbles into this random... How would you describe this?
It's a bunch of bat people.
Yeah.
They resemble bats, and they have these big flappy wings, and apparently they haven't been blessed with mouths, so the way that they eat is to flap those big bat wings around their prey, and things just kind of gobbled up.
They inject it with something where they basically turn the prey into like an ooze that they then eat. And it's horrific. It's terrifying as hell, because basically he's in this weird, like, this dark, creepy enclave where there's a person who's been captured. He sets the person free. That person immediately runs into the arms of one of the bad people where they are liquefied and eaten and nothing but bones remain. And they're going to do the same thing to Dar, but then his eagle flies over and lands on, like, their worship totem, which is an eagle. And they're like, oh, you're all right, bud. And in fact, they give him a little amulet. It's like, if you're a friend of Eagle, you're a friend of ours. And they give him a little eagle amulet. And when Dar is worried that they need help fighting the Jun Horde, he gives the amulet back to the eagle, who then brings in the bat people. It's not exactly Deus Ex Machina, so I'm going to say Batus Ex Machina?
Yeah, it's the Bat Eagle Alliance that is so famously well known in nature.
It's true. And so they come in and save the day, and basically, like, Dar and the head bat monster, like, respectfully nod at each other. And then the movie's over. Dar doesn't want to be king. Tal is going to be a great king. And he goes off to do his own thing and have many more fantastical adventures. Kiri magically shows up behind him somehow. They make out. We helicopter around them, getting a full 360 shot. And then the movie's over.
Aye.
Did I miss anything important?
Nope, that covers it. Did we name the ferrets Kodo and Podo?
Kodo and Podo, and the dog that died earlier is named Todo.
Yeah.
Not Toto, Todo. We also named the tiger Ruh.
Ruh-roh.
Ruh-roh Raggy. And then the eagle might have a name.
Eagly.
Sure. So what's important from this movie as it exists for you to bring forward into our remake?
Right. I think that the main thing that I was missing as I reconsidered it was, it would be nice if he learned something.
Yeah.
He doesn't really have an arc as is.
No, he has a very flat character arc.
He's a strapping young man, and he picks up a couple of weapons and gets some animal friends to help him, crawl into places that he can't get into himself because he's so brawny. It's nice, but it's just like he had all the abilities that he needed by the time he was 12 years old, and his adoptive Sticktown father had trained him in using mostly a sword and very occasionally a throwing axe.
Yes. And this feels like the sort of thing that, and I know it's not, but it feels like the sort of thing that's kind of based off of a newspaper comic, like one of those where it's like, well, we just have our kind of like serialized stories, and then eventually we get to the big bad guy. Oh my gosh, it's the grand finale.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a
oh man, the movie's
character.
Over. Wait, let's have another big bad guy come and have another big fight.
And for a movie that's 118 minutes, so it is 2 hours, to the movie's credit, it uses every bit of it. Aside from the moments where he stands still and like acts threatening by like swinging his sword around really awkwardly, it kind of continually is like, well, we have to do the next thing. Well, we have to do the next thing. You gonna learn anything? No time. Next thing. So...
Wait, I'm gonna look badass for a second. Flip. All right. Now let's keep doing stuff.
Yeah. oh, hey, remember I have a tiger? Go get that guy. There are just so many random deaths, and it's like, oh, I could help him. No, I want to see what happens. But, like, so let's start with our initial premise. We have this baby that, just like Greek mythology, fated to do some sort of murder. I like that as a premise. I like that it is this baby, we're going to steal it. I even like the hey, this cult leader is getting too much power in the town, so the king's kicking him out. So we can even just start there. The cult leader is getting too powerful, and the king is kicking him out. And we can have that go, and as he's leaving, the witches prophesize that the king's son is going to kill the cult leader. And he's like, well, shit, I don't have the power of my cult in this city anymore. We need to get that kid back out here so I can bring him to the witches so they can break fate. Give us a reason to actually kidnap the baby instead of just stabbing him. Of, like, we need to do a magic on the kid to, like, break this cycle of fate that would lead to my death. Because also, fundamentally, Dar doesn't kill Max. The ferret does.
Right. Hey, wait a minute. What did happen to that prophecy?
It didn't happen.
You just made me realize that the prophecy was broken this entire time.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, like, we have to do things to break the prophecy. Or the like literally the witches say at the beginning, like, they're perfectly devoted. Like, Max, to show that he's serious and that people are 100% devoted to him, he's like, oh, these two guards, they're not going to arrest me. They're so devoted to me. Guards, kill yourselves. And then they do. And it's gruesome and brutal for no reason. Apparently this movie's on Shudder. And
that was a weird flex that I'd forgotten about, yeah.
Yeah. But the witches are like, you can't change fate. You're magic.
You're making me realize that this whole movie would have been avoided if the witches had just given the courtesy of an accurate prophecy.
Yeah.
You, Max, when you're 48 years old, you'll be jumped on by a ferret and fall into fire. Find and kill that ferret.
Is that the reason why it's illegal to have pet ferrets in California? It might be. Who knows? We're learning today.
But yeah, it's like, if I'm thinking about this as like trying to make it a good story.
Yeah.
Which is always a curse upon a screenwriter, is trying to make it a good story.
Right.
It's like, what would change about his outlook, you know? Like, I mean, I'm just realizing out loud as I'm saying this to you, he doesn't really have like a character flaw, you know, because he's lacking information, but he fundamentally does not have a character flaw other than perhaps being on a revenge mission and being easily distractible when there's like a couple of hot babes to peek at.
I mean, his character flaw is that he's a sexual predator.
Yeah.
But then apparently she's into it because 80s movie.
Right.
A couple of changes that I would make is, I would make it be an actual swap between a baby and a cow, in that then is this Minotaur, which I like the idea of, is born. And then when his village is destroyed, I want it led by this figure in a helmet with this great mask and armor with giant horns coming out of the helmet.
Yeah, something that's clearly related to the bad guy, not just by movie intelligence, but by symbology and...
Right, but I also want it to be the Minotaur.
Right.
I want, like, we don't know that it's a Minotaur, we just know that it's a great big horned beast of a man who, like, wipes out this town. And I want that to be quote unquote our emperor, and then Ma'ox can be our Darth Vader. That's kind of the eventual big bad, because that's the kind of the fated sibling that he has to defeat, that also kind of took his place ruling this, like, city-state.
Yeah, I think that almost just by lack of anything else, I think maybe the thing to do is to retrofit Dar with that mentality of, you know, somebody else will take care of this. You know, let's go along to get along. Let's not agitate the bad guys. And then maybe he overcomes.
That's very placid, because then that'll leave, like, him not necessarily being in charge of his own fate as, like, the movie progresses, because it'll be like, oh, you're telling me I need to do this? Fine, I guess I'll do it. I would put it more along the lines of too trusting, believing in everybody. Because if he's a friend to all animals, people are animals. And so he wants to be friends to all people. And, like, he's friendly. And, like, we can even have it be, like, like, he's out there doing his farming, and someone comes along and asks him for directions to the town. He's like, oh, that town, it's right over there. And then that's how they find out where the town is and kill everybody. He trusts everybody. There was a moment when Kiri snuck away in the middle of them doing their assault on the castle. She like opens a secret entrance in the castle, goes into a room, comes back out with a belt and a knife.
All right.
And I'm like, okay, so is she on Max's side? What's going on? She sneaks away and then returns with weaponry. Is she about to betray them? What's going to happen?
That was an interesting beat, which I took just as like a little bit of inside knowledge. You know, it's like, well, hey, I'm a slave girl here. I know how to pop open the secret door and get to the supply closet.
Right. And so I was just like, what are we...
She should have asked if he needed anything.
Yeah, kind of. And so, like, I kind of want Kiri to betray him. I want this big, grand betrayal because I think we can set up that, like, there is a rot in the center of this religious organization, and basically the people are devoted to this god who wants bigger and better sacrifices. And we have this now Minotaur as the living embodiment of this god who seeks violence, does violence, kills everything because that is what the god demands. It is a brutal, bloodthirsty god, and I feel like that's kind of this, like, grant anyone who's like, well, R be praised, I guess we're going to be doing this thing. And so even the people who are like that, you don't know what side of the religion they're on, because if they're a true devotee, they could be these secret cult members who maybe willingly want to die and be sacrificed to the god, because that is the truest way to become close to and become a part of the god. Well, the weird glowing eye monstrosity monster that chases the ferrets, and that's a beat for a while, can be someone who willingly chose to become this.
Yeah, maybe there's room there for Dar to become like the better leader that his society really needs.
Yeah. I don't mind that he doesn't become the leader at the end, in that I think he can learn that he really shouldn't trust people, and then learns that he can't trust anybody because he's been betrayed so many times. But then we can have the full circle of them learning, like, no, I don't have to be the person in charge. Tal will be a better king than I will ever be. I can go off because I'm also super violent, and Tal is not. He will be a better king than I am. Solomon should build the temple, not David.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I mean, it is always frustrating, you know, when people like Mad Max, you know, like do all this good and then just walk away afterwards.
Yeah.
You know, like you did in Fury Road. You know, it's like, oh, come on, man. You know, you had a nice thing going. Why don't you settle down with some people? It's like, nope, I'm still called to adventure.
Yeah, because like the whole Mad Max thing is that his story is resolved in the first movie, and then he's just kind of a drifting character who runs into all these other people's movies as the series progresses. But like there's also the moment, then let's do it. Let's make Dar king, and then we have it be really boring and terrible. And he's like, nope, not for me. I should go. I don't think I should do this.
Yeah, I mean, that could be a novel attack on progress, you know, if he starts off just firmly believing that violence is the answer to everything and that domination is the only way to, you know, to have any peace is to be the dominant one. And then he ultimately may learn to give that up and realize, oh, hey, it's me on top of the pyramid now, but I'm not happy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Let's have a cooler head prevail, and you know, maybe I can go off and find myself now that all of my revenge, both the revenge I knew I wanted to get and the revenge I didn't know that I needed to get, have all been solved.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to finally find myself, because as Inigo said, there is not much money in revenge.
It's true. And I think that's valid, and I think we should do that. So basically, like, we have kind of a little bit of an alternate version of the beginning. We have the wiping out of his town, because we just gotta kill a town. And then we have Dar collecting his animal companions because he has had the secret the whole time. And also, his dog is dead. We obviously need the ferrets because they're the best characters in the whole movie.
Right.
We like the eagle because warging into eagles is fun. Do we want a tiger? Do we want a bear? Do we want the quote-unquote panther? What do we want to be the strength? And do we want it to be something that, hey, maybe it would be fun if, since that section of this will almost certainly be CGI now, he can ride. Like He-Man riding his battle tiger into battle. It could be a big old bear. It could be an elephant. It's a fantasy land. What kind of animal companions do you want him to have?
That's an interesting and maybe underutilized aspect of Beastmaster is I think that in a movie where the lead character got to be clever more often, that he would always be finding unique animal-related solutions to predicaments.
I also think
a la the Wonder Twins.
100%, because I also think he can speak to animals. Well, he can speak to these 4 and doesn't speak to any other animals anywhere else. And I feel like he should be finding animals, and some come with him and some don't. Like, the reason why he's able to speak to the bat people is because he's able to speak to the bat people. I don't want them to be humanoid. I want them to be fully animal. I want them to be bat monsters that don't resemble humans at all, but he's able to win them over because he can speak their language.
Right. I mean, they are kind of a deus ex machina in the movie. I'm not sure that they're needed for a better version of the movie. But
I don't want them to give him a trinket of their favor. I want that to be a end of Act 1. Well, I guess end of Act 1 is like, well, I'm finally going off on my adventure. So I guess they're a midpoint in the movie?
Yeah, they're, I mean, it's funny because story-wise, what they could be, like the version of the wallet in Training Day. You remember how he, man, we're jumping around into genres, aren't we?
Yeah.
But you remember how it's like his saving grace at the end was like, that he stopped and saved that girl in the alley.
Right.
And that came back to help him at the end of the day.
No, you know what?
So maybe he helps the bat people instead of just, running, popping across their lair and getting scared. Maybe he actually does something noble on their behalf that he doesn't have to do, and that's what he does to earn their trust.
Or we could go the complete other way and be like if we're having his character arc be too trusting, not trusting at all, back to trusting, the bat people can be people who he does this nice thing for, and then they turn on him and try to eat him anyway because, hey, we're still animals and you're still made out of meat. And it's one of those things where, like, I did a nice thing. Why would I do more nice things? Because if it's just going to lead to the bats betraying me again. And instead of them being this deus ex machina, they're a lesson. Because he doesn't learn anything from them. He just, like, randomly stumbles into some monsters, then they decide that they owe him one. Yeah,
I think that your improvement makes sense. If you really want to include bat people.
They're one of the, when I commented to some friends on the Discord that I was going to be remaking this movie, that was the first thing that one of the Discord members was like, these things still haunt my nightmares. And I'm like, fair. So I think we should have the bat people, because I feel like in terms of iconography, Beastmaster's iconography is weird bat monsters. And it doesn't have to be a long segment, but I think it can very easily be hey, I've acquired these animal friends, I've gone around saving things, I then got betrayed by these bat people, and then I run into this other human, and if animals are going to betray me, why wouldn't a human betray me? And that's when we meet Kiri, a human that will eventually betray him.
I like adding complexity to her, especially because she turns out to be like his relative anyway. So
yeah, she's his cousin.
She's therefore supposed to be ineligible for the romantic
setting.
Lead role situation.
I don't disagree. But anyway, so betrayed, like Kiri kind of leads him on and then abandons him. Let's say she uses him to like get back to the town, and then leaves him on the other side of a destroyed bridge. And that's when he'll run into Seth and Tall, and he's like, I'm not going to help you. I've just been betrayed twice in a row. First by bats and then by a broad. Let's bud over here.
In this version, that could be another kind of great little lesson moment. It's like, if their response to that is, well, fine, you cannot help us if that's your attitude, but we're going to help you.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. And so then they kind of work together and get across, or Seth and Tall get across, and they bring Dar along with them. They get across, and then it's like, all right, there's a lot of bad stuff happening. It's all kind of cruxed around this town. The town that they say is often the home base for the Jun Horde. For whatever reason, the Jun Horde is willing to destroy and pillage everything, but despite the fact that they pass by this town all the time, they never attack the town. Let's go find out why. They go in, evil religion's taken over, and Kiri's secretly on the side of the evil religion, and they're going through and they're using their cunning and skill and animals to defeat the religion. Hooray, we're going to save the day. What are some sequences, because we turn, using other and different goo, we turn a random guy into this like bruiser monster zombie thing. Are there any other sequence, and we're eventually going to have a big final climactic battle between Dar and I'm going to call him Rad, the reverse Dar, the Minotaur man.
Love it.
And Rad the Minotaur. And that's all going to be cool. Max is going to be killed by a ferret, I guess. What other sequences and set pieces do you want in this movie that will make it feel like a cool an awesome Beastmaster movie that 11-year-old you would love sitting on the ground and building Legos in front of all weekend?
I think he's definitely got to find another use for that throwing axe.
Absolutely.
The way that it is now, that just trivial usage against against no-name bad guys only.
Here's my pitch. When he is getting Kiri across a bridge to get her back in town, he does it by throwing a rope that she gets across. And then he's like, great, now throw that back with the rope and then I'll get across and I'll have my boomerang back. And she's like, cool, I'm actually going to keep this instead. Uh-huh. And she keeps the boomerang thing. And then when he rescues her, the first thing he does is he takes his boomerang back.
Nice.
And that way it's this whole big like symbol of like, you can't trust anybody. Man, she took my dad's boomerang. It was made out of knives. Man, that
thing, it's like I wanna believe, but you know, it's like hinged axes on two sides.
Yeah.
And in the end, while that might be handy for aerodynamics, it seems like a very clumsy setup as far as like inflicting damage.
It doesn't feel like the sort of thing that you could use for plot relevant purposes in the movie How to Steal a Million. What I like the ziggurat. I don't want to sacrifice kids. Let's sacrifice adults.
If at all, you know. I mean, because that kind of casual violence is definitely also something that I've outgrown.
Sure.
And in the end, what it's about is something that is sadly relevant to us today. You know, the blind worship of cult leaders spouting big promises.
Yes. Draping themselves in belief so that people really worship them and the structure as opposed to whatever god they used to actually worship.
Right. And then meanwhile, you know, the people of the village are poor and, you know,
they don't have anything.
They don't have anything.
We don't have anything except our belief.
Conversely, you could do more with a little bit more of a budget to make it clear that this guy is exploiting them and he's the one that's got a room full of gold and jewels and whatnot.
I mean, very much you show the town, these poor townsfolk barely scraping by with water soup. And then we get to cut to Max sitting in his citadel and his religious worship, surrounded by food and riches and gold and McDonald's and stuff like that. And I think, and it's Max doing all of this while also kind of serving at the feet of Rad the Minotaur Lord. Max is the frontward facing and Rad is the brutal violence, keep everything in check, because the way it works is Rad goes out and destroys towns and cities and creates fear, but everyone knows that the walled city of R is safe from the Jun hordes.
Right.
And so people flee there and bring their things and possessions, and all they have to do to live here is give what they have to the temple. And so it's this influx of refugees that they're able to take advantage of because Rad is around, creating fear and everything around the town.
Yeah, I actually really like and impressed by that as an idea for the way that Max gains the control that he does.
Yeah.
Because like you could almost replace the goal. Like maybe the goal wasn't just, you know, kidnap this kid that's prophesized incorrectly to kill me.
Yeah.
The goal could be, all right, so if I install this horrible Minotaur monster literally in the king's wife's womb and he grows to be the new king that I control, then that's how I maintain control of the city and forget the old king. Let's blind him to boot and
Sure.
take him off the throne, and then a jerk that I am in charge of will be the legitimate heir.
He's both the legitimate heir and the secret threat that I use to scare people to bring me more power and worship and whatever.
Yeah.
And in Dar's various travels, we can see he just encounters more and more people who are fleeing wherever they live to go to R. And because that's where all the refugees go, eventually that's where he realizes he has to go too.
Yeah, and maybe there really is like a nice lesson in there. It's like, what's that old phrase? Like everybody complains about the weather, but nobody does anything about it.
It's a good phrase.
Yeah. Maybe he gets to be an exciting hero because he finally becomes that like lightning rod for everybody's pent up frustration with the status quo.
Yeah. We didn't want to flee here. We want to live in our home, but because this is worse, but at least we won't die. And so that's how he's able to be like, okay, great. Well, we'll break this and we'll stop the Jun horde from attacking everything, and then you can go live in the places you want to live.
And while this movie might not get around to it, you just know that if there was dissent in the city, that the Jun horde would come in and start busting heads.
So eventually they take out Max, but then if Max is gone, well, something's going on in the city, so we need to create fear and terror there too, because Rad is off the leash.
Yeah.
And we have to take out him and his weirdly empowered monsters. Big final fight, Dar wins.
Yeah, but maybe let's visit sequencing just because I think that the existing movie is clumsy because there's kind of like two big battles. Like,
take me through the sequencing as you see it.
Well, I just think that the harder physical challenge would be Dar dispatching Rad, and then that would happen on the way to finally dethroning Max. So the physical challenge culminates with Rad, then the emotional challenge culminates with Max.
Oh, or we can have it built, because we want a big battle to be the big finale. Having two of them in a row, I think, is exhausting.
Yeah.
What we can do is, I think the big climactic final battle against Max should be inherently disappointing. I think it should be, hey, we corner this guy on top of the ziggurat. His guys can't get up the ziggurat fast enough. Having the high ground, not that great. And it's this big fight where Dar goes to strike Max down, and Max is like, all right, great, you got me. But... yeah,
the old villain as Weasel thing.
Right. Old villain as Weasel. But I'm going to make sure that if you kill me, everyone here is going to die. And Dar is like, I don't believe you. Everyone has been lying to me this whole time. And Max is like, I haven't lied to you once. And then Dar stabs him, and he's like, and now I'm going to prove it. And he falls back into the pyre. And when he goes into the pyre, it just shoots up a column of black smoke. And so it's something that hasn't happened at any other point, but this giant column of black smoke, which can be seen for miles and miles and miles all around. And then we see that the Jun horde sees it too. So it's this big final battle. So it's a climactic moment that ends up being disappointing. It's like, great, I killed him. Cool, I guess. Do we win? Is it over? Yeah, we did it. Something feels wrong. He kind of just died. Like, I was expecting more. And the smoke is still happening. Because the smoke is the signal that brings the Jun army to the town. And now it's time for the actual final battle. Unless you think it should be reversed, and he fights Rad first, and then Max is the true final villain.
Yeah, I'm thinking that.
Oh, excuse me. Then I apologize.
Yeah.
Okay, so then tell me what you're thinking.
One, that it would be nice if the animals were involved somehow.
Agreed.
If they had some... I mean, it is... Everybody makes fun of the eagles at the end of Lord of the Rings, like just showing up at the 11th hour to help out. But I think there is power to that. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the most satisfying beat is that the people help out. People and the animals.
Yeah. Well, I also like the idea of... Right now, I think we can comfortably say the choreography in this movie is bad.
Yeah.
But I think if we have this big battle against Rad the Minotaur Man, and it is Dar, the eagle, the ferrets, and the tiger, or what other animal do we want? Because I'm fine with the panther, or whatever CGI monstrosity you like.
Yeah, the panther is cool. I guess it just depends. I think that we should think for a second about who is like. I mean, it seems like Max in the end is the ultimate evil.
Yes.
Driving everything.
But
including, not that the good guys know it in the existing version, but including the sending of the Jun Horde around to lay waste to stick villages. What I was
just going to say, I think you just get a really awesome metal as hell final, like not final, but like big confrontational battle if Dar, the eagle, the ferrets, and the panther are all attacking Rad together, because individually they can't beat it, and you get to have this really cool fight choreography of the eagle swooping down, picking up a ferret, dropping it on Dar, it running around and biting its head, the ferret being thrown off, the tiger attacks, Dar comes in and punches when he's fending off and like a really good fight choreographer where all of those pieces are happening.
Yeah,
because that is Beastmaster. He talks about how he is the animals and the animals are him. They are all kind of a collaborative unit that all works together. And I think we would then get to truly showcase why he is the Beastmaster if he and all his beasts are coming together as one to fight this big Minotaur, and then they lose. Because it's a big thing, and it knocks everyone back, and he's like, you don't understand. I'm the Beastmaster. Not just these beasts. And then he holds up his hand, and all the cows and horses and dogs and cats and everything in the town, all the animals everywhere, descend on, and that's what carries.
You know what moment that harkens to?
Yeah.
That's a great cinematic moment.
Please.
Is at the end of Avengers Endgame, when it's like, okay, so here's a handful of the surviving heroes fighting Thanos. Right. Oh, okay, guess what? Now here comes everybody.
Yeah. So, yes, kind of like that. Except everybody that's coming, because it is still kind of a campy 80s movie, tons of animals.
Yeah, gorillas throw a hell of a punch.
That's true.
Bears, if they got nice big sharp claws, will do some damage,
All of that.
And mice going into your boot will trip you up,
Yeah, like your armor filling with rodents.
Big and small, know? Sparrow's dive bombing to stop him from focusing on whoever he's trying to hit.
Yes. So we can have this big thing where finally all of the animals come and take out Rad, it's Minotaur, and he's like, okay, great. The big bad is finally defeated. We win. Stab in the back. Max has just stabbed Dar in the back. Because Rad, at the end of the day, is a distraction because Max is the true villain.
Right.
And so we just trusted all the animals to take down the Minotaur man, and now Dar, very seriously wounded, not critically, but like very seriously wounded, now is so like all the animals are off doing something else. He can't fight back against Max, and Max is going to use his magic to take out Dar, and so now Dar has to trust the people to help him take out Max.
I think something in that genre could work, yeah. Especially if the people have kind of been watching this whole time, this whole battle. Especially if the people have been watching this whole time from the margins and are slowly but surely being provoked into a greater bravery and sense of community by all the goings on.
Basically, the arc of the movie has been, everyone has kind of been making their decisions based off of fear. We're in fear of the Jun Horde, in fear of this, so we're going to just do this because otherwise we'll die. But now they're having to actually make a brave choice and stand up to something that's very, very scary, Max. And that is how Dar, in him trusting the people and the people trusting in Dar, we both have our character arc and take down the actual final bad.
Yeah.
Big climactic celebration. Everyone wins. We all get to go back to our homes, except for Dar, whose home was destroyed. He has to go out and find his home. Hey, wouldn't it be great if Kiri came with him? End of movie. Yay! All right. Time for casting.
Indeed.
Obviously, we got to start with Dar.
Yeah.
Did you have someone in mind for Dar?
Dar.
Yes, Dar of Clan Dar of the Dar Valley Dars. The person that I had for Dar is I watched Starfleet Academy, and there is a young actor who's very new, but he was one of the leads on that show. Very tall, very muscular, very strong. He's an actor named Sandro Rosta. If you want to look him up, go for it.
Who does he play on Starfleet Academy?
He is Caleb, the kid, like the main boy who got taken away from his mom.
Oh, him. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess that the challenge became, as I thought about this, I'm thinking about, does this need to be an actor or does this just need to be an action hero?
Yeah. It's because enough of it, I think, is going to be green screened, because animals and animal treating them well and not hurting animals is going to involve the kind of, I need to act against something that isn't actually there. And I do think you need some acting skills.
Yeah.
Otherwise...
Well, I think it's also a question of paradigm,
Yeah.
Like, you could think of somebody like Luke Bracey, who took over the Johnny Utah role in the Point Break remake in 2015.
Luke Bracey. All right, sure.
Yeah, because he I think fits the mold of like the kind of the swaggering guy who's just there to throw punches.
Yeah.
If that's the kind of hero that we want, I would think of somebody like him.
Sure. There's also the aspect of how old
all
do you
bets
want
are
Dar to
off when you actually want it to be a good actor in a better movie.
I mean, in an ideal world, I'd love everyone in this to be a stellar actor, but also, like, I don't know, it reaches a point where it's like some of it's vibe, some of it's like, even if it is someone who isn't the best actor we've ever seen, they give the performance of the lifetime in this movie because they're the sort of actor we want for this role. We can certainly come back to Dar. So let me take you through who I have for the various roles, and then if you don't like any of the ones that I've picked, we'll pivot and find someone else. Sound good?
I mean, there's a lot of really good mustache twirlers, but I'm curious to hear who your favorites are.
I mean, of course. So my top two, because I went to this this for your consideration Starfleet Academy event, I'm going with the big mustache twirler from that show also. I'm going with Paul Giamatti.
Wow.
Because I feel like if we're looking for someone who's kind of like a Rip Torn, who's an incredibly talented actor, we get like the pathos and the heart and also the assholery of like the Holdovers and Sideways, while also like the big over-the-top, crazy, I'm just going to go balls to the wall character. You want Paul Giamatti for who he is in Starfleet Academy. Hell, for the version of the Rhino that he plays even, which is ridiculous, but he's like, I don't need to look cool. I can just be insanely wild and evil, and I think he's really good at that.
Yeah, I think that he's an actor that you would dream of getting in any movie that you got made.
Right.
And I agree. I think he would be fantastic at it.
Cool. So then Zed... So I end up casting, like, 6 roles, as I said. Zed, the person who adopts him, I gender swapped. And I went with someone who has a history of being a badass and being in a bunch of action movies, but is a little bit older, and you could see her kicking the shit out of a witch. And because I'm pretty sure that's something we've seen her do in a Star War. And also being someone who you could see training this kid to fight and defend themselves. Because she is in Riddick. She's in Mandalorian, and she's in Battlestar Galactica. I went with Katie Sackhoff.
Oh, nice.
And that as the, like, trainer parent figure who, like, raises this kid to actually be able to fight, I think that's the way to go.
I do love doing it with a mother. I hadn't thought in that direction. So you got, like, like the Michelle Yeohs of the world.
Right.
Maggie Q.
Yeah. Ming-Na Wen.
Ming-Na Wen, yeah.
And, like, any one of them would be incredible. And I just went with, like you can see any of those incredible women holding a sword and being like, all right, I'm going to teach you how to hold a sword because I don't need to be the one saving you all the time. That sort of thing. And I'm happy to go with any of them, but my suggestion was Katie Sackhoff.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right. So you may not...
That character didn't really get particularly... I mean, that guy in the original movie got the short end of the stick, no doubt.
Yeah, look, this movie has a lot of shortcomings.
Yeah.
And that's one of them. So my Kiri, because I wanted the ultimate betrayal, but then she comes around to kind of like waffling on which side is she on. So I just saw Mortal Kombat 2.
Okay.
And there's a character named Katana. And I think in Mortal Kombat, she's a bad guy. But in the movie, we don't completely understand where her loyalties lie. And despite the fact that it is pitched as a Carl Urban movie, no, it is a Katana movie. Mm-hmm. And the actress that plays Katana is named Adeline Rudolph.
Okay.
And she's great. She's absolutely an action star. She does amazing action sequences and then also does very good acting in Mortal Kombat 2. But she's very good in it. And so that's why I recommend Adeline Rudolph.
Well, I suppose if we're going to reach for the sky, you could think about someone like Zazie Beetz.
Yeah, you absolutely could.
Somebody that has like her own kind of strong center of gravity.
Yeah.
I think that she would be interesting. I love her for like the betrayal angle.
Zazie Beetz?
Yeah, and for the ultimate character redemption. Yeah.
Okay, I'm happy to go with Zazie Beetz instead. So then that brings me to Seth.
Seth.
I went real simple with this one because I realized I don't know that I've actually ever cast this guy in something. He's still a Marvel guy, but I wanted dude in his 40s who has been around the block and seen some things. He can fight, but he also kind of now serves as a mentor figure. Mm-hmm. We've seen him in Captain America Winter Soldier, but he was like in Hurt Locker. He's in Twisted Metal. I just went with Anthony Mackie.
Oh, yeah. Anthony Mackie could throw a punch, no doubt.
Yeah. And like, you need charm and charisma. He has that. And it's like, all right, man, you're not going to trust us? Well, we will trust you. And I think he'd be good at that. I think he'd be a decent Seth.
Yeah, he would deliver that line well. It's funny because it's not that I have anything to say about the casting. It's just that I keep thinking again about how that character also got kind of short shrift in the existing movie. It's like you got to give him more to do.
You do
to make it interesting for Anthony. But
absolutely,
I think that he would be a great gruff sidekick character.
Yeah, I think it'll be okay. And then I found a 12-year-old to be our Tall because I didn't cast the old king because quite frankly I didn't care. She's like, yeah, he got killed. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. There's a kid named Carrie Christopher. He was in 911. He's in Days of Our Lives, but his like more popular role is he's in the movie Weapons as like the one kid left behind.
Oh wow. Okay, which kid in Weapons is he?
He's the one who like everyone else in his class disappeared, but he's the one.
The one that's still the kid with the most to do in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and ultimately the savior of that movie.
Sure, I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I can't watch horror.
Wow. Are you averse to a spoiler then?
Not at all.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Warning on weapon spoiler for anyone who is averse to one. Continue.
Okay, yeah. In Weapons, you know, his family is the source of the town's woes. Like his crazy aunt, who turns out to be a witch, has come to their family, like immobilized his parents and turned them into basically like robot guardians while she does her wickedness, which she tends to do by like wrapping people's hair and personal items around twigs and then snapping them.
Okay.
Ultimately, the salvation of everybody in Weapons is he decides to do that himself.
So he does that to her.
He gets a piece of and turns that to her, thus turning all of his formerly captive classmates into weapons that are used against her.
Got it.
That kid did an incredible job, and I have no doubt that he'll have all kinds of interesting opportunities in front of him as a result of it. It is funny, because in the past when I've had, you know, kids that age, you know, like I had a Troubled Teens script that did pretty well. That was the name of it was Troubled Teens.
Perfect.
I find that whenever you were contemplating casting, the problem was that even if you had a 6-month delay, suddenly people got older and bigger.
Especially for kids. It's so hard.
That is such an in-the-moment decision when you're casting somebody that young.
Welcome to my biggest problem doing this show.
But if we were talking about, you know, casting it tomorrow to shoot hopefully on a lot in the city that's not getting used right now.
Yeah.
Then I think that he would be great.
Great. And then I am going to push us to Sandro Rosta just because he's a little bit younger. He's like in his 20s as opposed to Luke Bracey, who is 37. And then that brings us to writer and director. For the writer, I went with the writer of Mortal Kombat 2 because I thought it was really good. It was stupid as hell, but it was awesome, which is kind of what we want.
Why aren't you giving these jobs to yourself and or your good friends?
Because I've done this 187 times. Like, I can't just do my friends again. It's been 187 episodes.
Fair enough. I just, you have to try.
Yeah. He was a writer of Mortal Kombat 2. He was a writer on Moon Knight. And then he was a writer on, like, the Exorcist TV show. He's a writer named Jeremy Slater.
Okay.
And then for the director, I went with a director who was a director on a lot of animation, but he specifically was the director on Kubo and the Two Strings, which, other things aside in that movie, the choreography is very good. He also directed the action movie Bumblebee, which I thought of all the Transformers movies is the best one. And he's going to be the director on the upcoming Masters of the Universe.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, so that seemed like the right choice. So taking us back through it, our Beastmaster casting, Dar is going to be Sandro Rosta. Max is going to be Paul Giamatti. Zed is going to be Katie Sackhoff. Kiri is going to be Zazie Beetz. Seth is going to be Anthony Mackie. Tal is going to be Carrie Christopher. Written by Jeremy Slater and then directed by Travis Knight. That is Beastmaster. You gonna hang out in your living room and watch this on HBO at some time?
Yeah. That I would see. I would see that for Paul Giamatti alone.
Yeah. Fair.
Also, any kind of, CGI updates to give the animals the ability to do more, and whatever you come up with, I think would be amazing. Although very specifically,
not wisecracking. It'd be so easy for them to be like, well, now the ferrets are a couple of wisecracking jokesters.
Yeah, no, that's not an angle I saw this movie going.
We got towards. The Waynes in here to do both their voices.
That's a different movie. That's
a different movie. That is an animated movie.
That's like the scary movie version of this movie, which is a whole other thing to construct.
Which fundamentally would be fun, but it's not Beastmaster.
Yeah.
But we've reached the end of the podcast. Bart, thank you so much for being my guest and making me watch this movie. Please tell the folks listening where they can find you online if you want to be found online, and anything you would like them to do or subscribe to or watch or whatever.
I'm at bartgold.com, and the greatest thing you can do to help me in the moment is to go to the LA Times, click on the Midi Crossword, which is the yellow one. The full size is the blue one. The mini is the red one. And the Midi, which I write every day for the foreseeable future, is the yellow one. There is absolutely no paywall. There is a login wall, but there is no paywall.
It
is free.
Good. Love that. Okay. So is there anything going to be coming out in like late June that might be like a themed week or something?
I actually think that's when my 80s week lands. I had a bunch of crosswords. I get a title for every puzzle.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll use that to inspire like themes,
Yeah.
I have various like 80s songs in puzzles,
Perfect. I mean, what timing?
That is good timing.
All right. So if you're interested in following me, I am on Instagram at @IdealRemake, or you can follow me on BlueSky at Sam Gasch, SamGasch. Or if you want to tell me the sort of animal companion you wish that Dar had in Beastmaster, you can always jump on the Dueling Genre Discord and have a conversation about the ridiculousness that is Beastmaster in the Ideal Remake channel. But all that said, Bart, thank you so much for being my guest this episode.
Thanks for having me on, Sam. It was fun.
I will end this episode the same way I end every episode. What is your favorite quote from the movie Beastmaster?
I have my sight. I have my cunning. And now I have my strength.